Hello everyone, welcome to the Animeverse Hubsole. Today we're covering Swallowed Star episode 192. In this incredible chapter, Luo Feng's true power is revealed in devastating fashion. Before we go any further, tell me where you're watching this from, and remember, this is based on the novel, so it won't be 100% similar to the Donghua version. Without further ado, let's go into the story. King Purple Clock, a pinnacle immortal king also known as King Purple Bell, was filled with consuming rage and bitter regret as his life force rapidly depleted. The malevolent-looking skinny warrior of the Xianxia race, standing merely 1.6 meters tall and covered in characteristic scales, knew his end had arrived. In a final act of pure malice and vengeance, he desperately connected to the virtual universe network one last time. His fading consciousness materialized in his virtual living room, and he screamed with desperate fury, "Mass send! Send mail to everyone in my contact list!" According to his carefully prepared contingency plan, if he couldn't successfully deal with the human Yang himself, he would drag in massive numbers of other powerful immortal kings to finish the job. The emergency mail he had meticulously prepared, complete with exact battlefield coordinates and treasure information, was sent out like digital snowflakes, instantly reaching hundreds of immortal kings throughout the Automaton camp across Xianxia continent. The reactions from recipients were immediate and visceral. "That human Yang has finally appeared? Where exactly?" Some shouted eagerly. "Sacrificial tower treasure. It's real." Others exclaimed with undisguised greed, their voices trembling with desire. However, these experienced immortal kings weren't complete fools. They quickly formed strategic alliances and gathered in powerful coordinated groups to avoid potential deadly traps. Purple Clock laughed madly even as his consciousness crumbled and fragmented. He had successfully acquired the legendary ancient clock treasure, personally killed 2 limit immortal kings and numerous pinnacle immortal kings throughout his career. He was considered an absolute being amongst the entire Xianxia race. He still harbored ambitious hopes of one day becoming a universe knight, achieving even greater heights of power and recognition. But confronting the human warrior Yang proved absolutely fatal to these dreams. The devastating fire god's source crystal explosion combined with the horrifying Fei Mo poison obliterated his immortal life force almost instantly. "Even if I die here today, don't think you'll get off easy. Human!" he howled with his final breath before his consciousness shattered completely like a fragile bubble and vanished forever into the void. What made his permanent death even more tragic was understanding the revival mechanics. Because he had successfully fused with the ancient clock, a genuine true treasure of immense value, the revival difficulty would equal that of reviving an actual universe knight. Universe masters would immediately abandon any revival attempts once they discovered the fused ancient clock, since forcefully destroying such a treasure would cost 10 to hundreds of times its actual material value. King Purple Clock would never be revived by his faction. He had fallen permanently. In distant regions scattered across Xianxia continent, immortal kings from the Automaton camp mobilized with incredible speed. One substantial group led by King Anmeng debated the situation with understandable suspicion. This emergency news broke out from Purple Clock in an obvious mass group mail format. Could this entire situation be an elaborate ploy or trap? They questioned carefully. One cautious warrior attempted directly contacting Purple Clock through virtual universe channels. "The virtual universe system officially says he's fallen," he announced with genuine shock spreading across his features. This system confirmation made the gathered warriors trust the urgent message. Approximately 90% the virtual universe's official records had verified his permanent death beyond doubt. "Hurry, we must move now," they shouted urgently. "Purple Clock has actually fallen, which means the battle situation must be incredibly intense. With our overwhelming numbers, we absolutely need not fear engaging this single human warrior." They calculated that even if trouble awaited them, they could teleport hundreds of thousands of kilometers away instantly, giving them sufficient preparation time for coordinated defense. Groups of Automaton camp immortal kings began executing coordinated mass teleportation toward the specified battleground coordinates, eager to claim whatever treasures remained. At the actual battleground location, The shattered space was visibly reforming with crackling energy. King Blood Beast, a renowned limit immortal king, howled in pure agony as his immortal divine body painfully reconstructed from scattered fragments. I've lost 42% of my entire divine body. How incredibly long will recovery take? His remaining eye blazed with impotent fury, knowing full recovery would take an extraordinarily long time or require purchasing expensive healing treasures he could barely afford. King Heavy Arrow had suffered even worse damage, having lost a devastating 59% of his divine body. I don't even possess 10% of my original combat strength anymore. Even a pinnacle immortal king could easily suppress me in this weakened state. The brutal mechanics were absolutely unforgiving. Losing 30% reduced overall strength to merely 50%. Losing 50% left only 10% combat capability. Losing 70% meant under 1% strength remained. After losing 90% or more, complete coma with absolutely zero defense capabilities. Meanwhile, the silver-winged Luo Feng wielded his distinctive poison shadow blade, a purple gleaming G-grade weapon coated with expensive Fei Mo poison. He systematically swept up Purple Clock's valuable items, world rings containing treasures, protective armor pieces, and most importantly, the precious ancient clock, into his dimensional storage. "Thanks for the generous donation, Purple Clock," he said softly with cold satisfaction. Suddenly, tens of thousands of kilometers away in multiple directions, space shook violently with distinctive ripples as the first batch of 10 Immortal Kings materialized. In multiple surrounding directions, additional groups continued arriving through mass teleportation. When that very first batch of reinforcement Immortal Kings appeared on sensors, Blood Beast, Heavy Arrow, and Luo Feng had all made rapid critical calculations. I've already lost 42% of my divine body, and somehow that human warrior withstood the entire blast practically unscathed. Absolutely unbelievable. If he chooses to use another Fire God Source crystal against us, I will very likely fall permanently. This risk simply isn't worth it. Blood Beast immediately flew at maximum emergency speed toward the space lockdown field's distant edge. "Flee immediately." Heavy Arrow made the identical strategic decision without hesitation. Both powerful Limit Immortal King warriors were genuinely scared away by witnessing that devastating explosion's aftermath. That first terrible blast had destroyed everything within range, equivalent to approximately 100 billion Hunyuan units worth of pure destructive power concentrated in one instant. Neither warrior possessed sufficient confidence to survive another similar detonation. Both flew desperately in different directions, each thinking identical thoughts. "He can physically only chase one of us. The other will definitely escape." With the space lockdown spanning only 10,000 kilometers in diameter, if Luo Feng hesitated even a single second making his decision, both would successfully escape beyond his reach. But at Luo Feng's experience combat level, how could he possibly lose focus during such a critical moment? Heavy Arrow clearly suffered significantly more structural damage. "I'll deal with him first as the easier target." He flapped his magnificent silver wings and shot after Heavy Arrow like a predatory eagle. Blood Beast successfully escaped beyond the space lockdown region's boundary. "I absolutely won't stay here." He glanced briefly at the stunned newcomer Immortal Kings with contempt. Those complete fools arriving late can only hope desperately that the human doesn't go crazy again with explosives. Another strongest Fire God Source crystal detonation would utterly obliterate them all. He vanished instantly via emergency teleport. King Anmeng's substantial group arrived via coordinated teleport, but the scene awaiting them was shocking far beyond their worst imagination. Over 10 million kilometers of distance, vast lands, flowing rivers, towering mountains, all reduced to absolute barren wasteland without a single landmark remaining. Residual explosion ripples and energy signatures still resonated powerfully through the atmosphere, making arriving Immortal Kings physically shudder. What shocked them even more profoundly was witnessing the supposedly invincible Heavy Arrow and Blood Beast, two genuine Limit Immortal King warriors, fleeing in absolute terror. Blood Beast had already escaped via emergency teleport, while Heavy Arrow was being actively chased by a silver-winged human warrior. What catastrophic event happened here? They whispered in complete disbelief. What type of devastating attack would reduce such an enormous area to literally nothing? Even a typical limit Immortal King couldn't possibly cause this scale of environmental damage. Their voices trembled with genuine fear. As space continued rippling with distinctive patterns, another batch of Immortal Kings appeared, then another, then yet another. Numbers quickly exceeded 100 gathered warriors, but each successive new group remained utterly stunned by the complete devastation and the sight of limit Immortal King warriors fleeing in terror. Luo Feng had deliberately chosen Heavy Arrow as his primary target. The warrior had lost 59% of his divine body, leaving him with barely combat effectiveness. The silver Shiwu wings left 3 distinctive spatial warps as Luo Feng rapidly closed the distance gap. The speed difference was completely overwhelming. Die here, Heavy Arrow. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed with cold determination. Human, don't get ahead of yourself. Heavy Arrow desperately pulled out his signature black and silver bow. Bow users were exceptionally rare because the weapon type typically couldn't match spirit weapons in raw power, but true masters were absolutely terrifying combatants. The bow weapon could dramatically amplify a user's inherent strength. The launched arrow, black with distinctive yellow energy traces, tore through tens of kilometers of distance. Space itself was carved with a razor-thin, visible slit from its passage. But when the arrow struck Luo Feng's Shiwu wings directly, it barely moved a single feather. These wings had successfully withstood the Fire God Source crystal's explosion. Naturally, this conventional attack was completely ineffective. You only had that one chance to strike, Luo Feng stated coldly while closing final distance. Die! He brandished the poisoned shadow blade while his wings created devastating spatial force, unleashing his self-created moon policy technique with perfect execution. The combined devastating attack, wings and blade working in synchronized harmony, was dramatically amplified by the Shiwu wings' inherent space law energy with terrifying spatial tearing abilities. Silver light slashed cleanly through Heavy Arrow's protective armor, and the poison-coated blade carved deep into his exposed divine body. What? Impossible! Heavy Arrow felt the Fei Mo poison actively invading his body's core. Tear it away! He desperately tried severing the poisoned portion, but the damage spread too quickly. Mo Yun Vine! 10 powerful vines shot explosively from Luo Feng's shoulder armor and wrapped tightly around Heavy Arrow's weakening form. The already severely weakened warrior, having started at 59% loss, was catastrophically reduced to merely 20% remaining after that single devastating slash. 3 specialized thorn vines pierced deep into his vulnerable body. The initial slash plus 3 subsequent vine stabs all contained concentrated Fei Mo poison. Luo Feng's vines possessed 9 thorns total, each containing 30 precious drops of poison. The combined poison dosage reduced Heavy Arrow's divine body to just 12%, well below the critical consciousness threshold. The thorns pulled out with calculated timing, timed precisely to cause immediate coma without causing complete death. Heavy Arrow's eyes went completely vacant, consciousness rapidly fading, his body becoming utterly motionless. Though 10% was the definitive coma level threshold, different warriors with varying willpower meant some fell unconscious at 15% or even 16% remaining. Heavy Arrow fell completely unconscious at 12%. Keep secured. Luo Feng efficiently stored the comatose Heavy Arrow's body into a separate, specialized world ring for later processing. Everything had happened with devastating speed and efficiency. Other observing Immortal Kings noted that Heavy Arrow was already critically damaged before this final confrontation. The humans' demonstrated strength didn't seem overwhelmingly sufficient to scare off such massive numbers. Many warriors were hesitating cautiously, though only very few chose to flee immediately. Most stayed at safe distance to observe developments. Space ripples continued manifesting as more batches arrived through coordinated teleports. The 6th arriving batch, consisting of 21 Immortal Kings, observed one human warrior apparently surrounded by over 100 Automaton camp Immortal Kings. Having arrived significantly late, they completely missed witnessing Blood Beast's terrified retreat or Heavy Arrow's unconscious capture. They wrongly assumed the human was helplessly trapped. Driven by overwhelming greed to claim treasure first, all 21 committed to immediate attack without proper reconnaissance. The greedy group transformed into resplendent beams of multicolored light, shooting straight at Luo Feng with devastating speed and absolute confidence. "These complete idiots," the veteran observing Immortal Kings muttered with dark amusement. "It's not entirely their fault. If we hadn't personally witnessed Blood Beast fleeing or Heavy Arrow's coma, we'd have rushed identically, seeing only one human. We're all same camp anyway, so no friendly fire concerns. Just whoever reaches treasure first." Luo Feng's space lockdown remained continuously activated. Wielding his blade, he floated majestically upward, coldly gazing at 18 silhouettes recklessly rushing into his maintained space lockdown zone. 2 pinnacle Immortal Kings, 6 high-level Immortal Kings, 10 low-level Immortal Kings, all completely unaware of approaching doom. "Pitiful warriors, I'll use your deaths to leave an unforgettable message," Luo Feng muttered with icy calculation. "Kill him!" the 18 screamed, filled with murderous intent as they unleashed various energies, rushing forward with misplaced confidence. Luo Feng flapped his wings, becoming an indistinct blur. He left distinctive warps while slashing toward one high-level Immortal King, an immortal covered in dancing flames wielding a massive chain weapon. When Luo Feng rushed close, the warrior whipped his chain forward desperately. Luo Feng became a demonic blur, effortlessly deflecting the chain while rushing impossibly close, unleashing Moon Policy. A glaring silver slash tore violently through space. The slash tore through protective armor and carved into the body. In one devastating instant, it deposited exactly 0.4 drops of Fei Mo poison. The flaming immortal stared wide-eyed before instantly crumbling to nothing. Permanent death. "What happened?" Watching Immortal Kings exclaimed in horror. "He's completely dead? How can a high-level Immortal King be killed instantly?" The massive group was profoundly shocked. This time they personally witnessed the silver slash instantly reducing a genuine high-level Immortal King to absolute nothingness without even using Mo Yun Vine. The battle's brutal pace gave remaining 17 no time to reconsider. "The Fei Mo poison depletes rapidly," Luo Feng noted, while collecting the fallen warrior's possessions. He flashed toward another low-level Immortal King. The blade clashed with his chain, and I lost 0.5 drops. Another 0.2 drops penetrated his armor. Only 0.4 drops truly attacked his body. The fundamental weakness was obvious. Because poison was melded into the blade, during Immortal King-level fights where weapons clashed with star-colliding force, such impacts consume precious poison. Hence, optimum usage was exactly how Luo Feng killed Purple Clock initially. First, destroy the divine body completely. Then slash the undefendable body directly. "I'm getting my money's worth," Luo Feng rationalized. 300 million Hunyuan units per drop. Its power is impressive. I accept these minor flaws. He easily flashed past another low-level Immortal King's attack. His silver slash flew past the head, and the warrior crumbled, fallen permanently. Killing low-level Immortal Kings is remarkably easy. They're inherently weaker. I only use 0.1 drops breaking armor. The remaining 0.3 drops fully attacked. He rushed at another high-level Immortal King. His blade work was extraordinarily precise. As a self-created pinnacle technique, even Primal Chaos City Leader had praised its perfection. Each slash was terrifying and beautiful, a blade tearing through skies while immortals fell. Each slash represented absolute death. No warrior could withstand it. "Surround him!" Desperate immortals attempted coordinating, but Luo Feng's speed was supernatural. Of 18 who rushed, 13 had fallen. No remaining warrior possessed sufficient speed. Silver wings flapped as he warped through space, effortlessly selecting his next target. Whoever died was up to Luo Feng. Blade flashes were terrifying and beautiful, accompanied by agonized screams as Immortal Kings fell with zero revival hopes. "Flee! Quickly flee!" survivors screamed desperately. Remaining Immortal Kings began retreat. However, their speed was pathetic compared to Luo Feng's. With one wing flap, he caught another group and circled them efficiently. 3 more blade flashes, 3 more permanent deaths. Finally, the last 5 from the original 18 fled into the distant crowd, desperately seeking safety in numbers. Luo Feng wielded his blade, floating majestically, gazing at 200 gathered Immortal Kings. Complete silence. Every warrior was utterly shocked. 18 charged forward, only 5 survived. 2 pinnacle Immortal Kings, 1 high level, 2 low level, also escaped. The other 13 had fallen permanently. 13 Immortal Kings eliminated in mere moments. In Xianxia continent's recorded history, Immortal Kings falling was extremely rare. For 13 to fall simultaneously, such hadn't occurred in an extraordinarily long time, probably hundreds of millions of years since Ghostmound King's legendary rampage. He killed so many simultaneously, including high-level Immortal Kings, yet they died with such ease, observers muttered in disbelief. His blade work is perfect, with profound laws infused. His slashes don't resemble standard space or gold laws. They didn't know Luo Feng trained in Beast God Path, the rare fusion of gold and space laws simultaneously. "What are you afraid of?" A short pinnacle Immortal King named Fen Nong howled desperately. "Can't you see he only targets low and high-level Immortal Kings, never touching pinnacle? That means insufficient strength. King Fen Nong, didn't you witness Blood Beast fleeing and Heavy Arrow in coma?" Another challenged. That scares you? That human exhausted all trump cards. Everyone saw the devastation. He shouldn't have limit Immortal King's strength now. We have over 200 Immortal Kings. You go first. Stop instigating others to death. Suddenly a boom resounded. "Attention all Automaton camp immortals." Every immortal looked over. The silver-winged human smiled coldly. "Don't worry, limit Immortal Kings are extremely powerful. No easy method for me to kill them. I just pay large enough price. Like this item." He flipped his hand. A beautiful black crystal with red lights appeared, exactly 10,081 sides with law engravings. Every immortal sensed the terrifying energy. "Strongest fire god sourced crystal!" Voices shouted in recognition. 100 billion Hunyuan units each. Can kill limit Immortal Kings? Pinnacle Immortal Kings will definitely die. Shock spread through 200 Immortal Kings. When detonated, even if all 200 combined maximum defense, 90% would still fall. Luo Feng smiled while connecting to virtual universe, contacting Kingstar Fantasy, also called Shi Wu. He shut off his space lockdown, having accomplished his objective. He simply wanted to scare them, ensure they understood he wasn't to be provoked. Massacring all would enrage massive numbers throughout the camp. Limit Immortal Kings might coordinate against him. Scaring them is enough, he calculated. I don't have strength to handle cascading trouble. My current strength is insufficient. I'm weak in head-to-head confrontations with truly stronger immortals. When the black silhouette teleported beside Luo Feng, they were shocked. "So many Immortal Kings. Yang, what's happening?" "Don't worry." Luo Feng wielded the crystal prominently. His companion quickly deduced what happened, feeling respect for Luo Feng's bold tactics. "Let's go." Understood. They vanished via teleport. The 200 Immortal Kings watched as Luo Feng departed. Remarkably, no one tried stopping him, completely paralyzed by fear. The 200 remained stunned, watching Luo Feng leave. None felt this disgraceful. Throughout incredibly long lives, they'd experienced countless life or death situations and developed certain rules. Perhaps natural to want stealing treasure from apparently weaker warrior. But that human, was he truly weak? Heavy Arrow in coma, Blood Beast fled, Purple Clock and 13 Immortal Kings permanently killed. What type of result? Which of 200 could match such achievement? Incredibly powerful, voices murmured respectfully. Too strong. In that instant, 13 fell. Terrifying efficiency. Despicable Purple Clock. He summoned us knowing even Blood Beast and Heavy Arrow couldn't handle this human. He deserved death. Groups continued discussions. Luo Feng's performance had subdued all, forcing genuine respect. Without doubt, he was genuinely strong, and for such warrior to hold treasure was natural. If even the warrior of his caliber wasn't suitable, which among 200 could claim worthiness? That human Yang, Though maintaining low profile, his strength doesn't pale compared to limit Immortal King. From now on, one more absolute warrior to fear in this 27th battlefield, the human Yang. Does this human not have official title? One asked. We only know him as Yang. His blade work was exquisite, each slash forming rivers of light lasting extended moments. One slash resulted in one Immortal King falling, 13 slashes killed 13. From my observation, we should call him Blade River King. Blade River King? Others tested the name. Not bad. The moment I hear that name, I recall what happened today. Gathered Immortal Kings discussed, unanimously agreeing on this title. Some warriors received titles from superpowers, others through terrifying incidents, making everybody agree. The latter had more persuasive power. The battle for sacrificial tower treasure reached conclusion, establishing new legend. Blade River King. He killed 14 Immortal Kings total, put Limit Immortal King in coma, chased Blood Beast away. Such devastating result made his title spread with incredible speed throughout all factions. That's all from me for this episode. What do you think will happen next as Blade River King's reputation spreads? Will this draw even more powerful enemies, or grant him deserved respect? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Your support helps me bring you more amazing content. Until next time, stay tuned for more incredible adventures.